Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, today we're going to talk about the latest release of Solus. This is Solus 4.6 Budgie. And we are recording this one on real hardware today. And there was a little caveat to this. I actually installed this on my main streaming computer, which I usually do, as I have the IC dock allowing me to remove my hard drive and install just on an external USB 1 terabyte disk that allows me to just install Linux distributions and try them out on real hardware. There was a problem on that system, and that is that something seems to be wrong with the Mesa drivers on AMD GPUs, and video playback doesn't work. So looking into it, I thought it was something related to USR-Merge, USR-Merge, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. And then I thought we looked at the error logs and the crash logs, and it just seems to have an issue with the graphics card. So I decided to try it out on this laptop instead. So it works, everything works perfectly fine. So I'll show you that as well. So we are running this one on a Dell Inspiron 7548 with an Intel Core i5 and integrated Intel graphics. So the problem is when I went from the integrated Intel graphics onto just an AMD Radeon graphics card, none of the video stuff worked. And so if there's a Solus person watching this, you might look into that. If I can find a way to leave you a bug report or pass you a message about that, I will do so, just saying I had to do this over here. So you can see that this system here, we have a kernel of 6.10. We have, let's see what else is interesting, Budgie 10.9.2, and window manager is Mutter Budgie. And let's see what else we got. We have a Intel i5 52U, 4 cores, 2.7 gigahertz, and we have integrated graphics, and we have roughly 8 gigs of RAM. And so that's kind of what we see over here. Now, the current system is still working on X. There was actually some discussion last year about switching the entirety of the system over to Budgie, or to Wayland, excuse me, eventually. That is not yet in this. Apparently what the current series says is that in 11 at this point in time. Now, they do say down here they're really working on it. Come the second half of the year, they hope to be able to deliver a Budgie 10 series that is Wayland only. I will also warn, don't do Wayland only. You want to do Wayland default? Great. But don't get rid of the ability for us to use X. Because there are certainly a lot of things, including the screen recorder we're using right now. I did a search for screen recorders on Solus. The only one in the repository is Simple Screen Recorder, which will not work at all under Wayland. So this is still X, and I did double check. There is no way to get into Wayland on the system. So that's not yet into here, and this is Budgie 10.9, I believe. Let's go back to that NeoFetch 10.9.2. And so that's really what we see here. As far as the installation, it is not any different than it has been for the last several iterations of Solus. Calamaris installer, nothing is there. As far as what is new in this, the first big one, they just talk about the basic default applications. The USR-Merge, this is a big conundrum they've been looking at. So what this has to do with is how the file directory structures are put together, and there's a little bit of back and forth in different Linux builds as to where the main system files are at. And so there is this desire to merge all of these together and to put all of the various system resources under the USR directory. And so they have a whole blog post on this a couple months back, about 6 weeks ago or so from the time I'm recording this. So the USR-Merge, the system here, this is this user system resources, I think is what the USR stands for. And there is a lot of file split systems between bin, USR bin, SBin, USR SBin, lib, USR lib, lib64, and USR lib64. And these are on different distributions all over the place. So there's been some discussion about unifying everything together and putting all of these under the USR directory tree, basically cleaning systems up and bringing in some compatibility. So if you had some script, you didn't have to modify them for different file paths, allowing you to have scripts that are more portable. Now, the way they say they're on phase 3 right now, and what their phase 3 looks like is if you go into the main file systems here, and let's go back into the full device. Oh boy, which device do we have? I think it's this one. Yeah, this one here is the internal hard drive. This is our, oh, I'm sorry, that's our boot. There it is, file system. So if we go into our file system here, you see that we still have a bin, we still have a lib, we have a lib64, and we have an S bin. So this accounts for scripts that are still dropping things into these directories. But what you see is that these are all actually not real folders, they are symlinks. So if you go into our USR folder, this is actually where we have all of these folders actually at. Of course, the lib is still out there as another symlink. Where's that one going to? I have no idea where that one's going to. But we see that this is where all of the folders for the directory trees are all here. And so this is where all the files are going, but if there's still a script dropping them into different places, it will still work. They're basically utilizing system links in order to organize the files where they are. So the next phase will eventually be dropping all of these out and putting everything into the USR. And so that is the biggest major change that they have done in this system, is getting that to the point where if you're using an older version of Solus, now everything should be merged to this same system where we have here. And they said moving forward, they're going to be finalizing it into the stage 4. And so looking back over the systems, the next thing they're actually doing is they're still using the Solus Software Center. Which is actually, in my opinion, a really good, it's clean, it's organized. Now, Solus curates all their own software, and so there's not as much software inside of here as you find in some other systems. However, what we do actually have is everything in here is going to work really well. Now, in the past, they have done a decent job of providing a lot of extra software, and I really praise them for this move. And this would have been 5 years ago where they enabled Snap support, because Snaps did have a lot of extra software, and it was better to have that extra software. Well, the challenge that they had mentioned in the past is that maintaining Snaps and getting the Snap functionality to function is a whole full-time person's job in and of themselves. And so they got really sick of that. And so they started to depreciate Snaps to the point where now if we do Snap list, you find that Snap is not even installed anymore. But if we do a Flatpak, then Flatpak is installed, but they don't actually have any Flatpaks installed by default. However, they do have, if you do Flatpak remotes, we do actually have the FlatHub system already configured. So if you need to install something from FlatHub, you don't have to install FlatHub, just install the Flatpak how you would ordinarily. So the problem is that their original Solus software store does not manage Flatpaks, and rather than trying to figure out how to get Flatpak into here, what they're doing is they are experimenting with adding either the GNOME software store or KDE Discover. And so these are now available in the repo. If you wanted to install these, then you actually can. So let's see if it actually searches and finds software store. So here is the GNOME software store. Now the software store allows you to install the repo apps from Solus and the Flatpaks. So this is one application that's already working and has a whole team behind it from somebody else, allowing you to install Flatpaks from the GUI. So if you do like Flatpaks and you don't have to worry about that, you might just install the software store into it. Now, for me, this saddens me slightly because I hate the GNOME software store. It's just like, it is so hard to use. It feels buggy. It feels sluggish to me. Of course, on Plasma, they also work with Discover, which also works with their repository and Flatpaks as well. So that is the option. You can do KDE Discover if you prefer that one, particularly if you are using Plasma. And so that is really what they are doing if you wanted to run Flatpaks from the GUI, or if you just want to use them in the terminal, you can do that. And you can always just shortcut that. How often do you need to do that, really? Just go into FlatHub, and sorry for the Google. I haven't changed any default settings in Firefox here. But you can go over here and you can search for any apps. So let's just do LibreWolf. That's a good example. So here's LibreWolf, excellent browser. Pull this guy down, and if you just copy this right here and paste it right on into the terminal, then it will install. I am not going to install it right now because my internet connection right where I'm recording this video is not the best, and it might take way too long to try and do that. But you can see it's just Flatpak install, and then this is the remote FlatHub, which is already configured, and then this is the name of the application. So remember that it basically names them kind of like Android apps does the same thing. It's basically the inverse of the URL, right? LibreWolf community, gitlab.io. No, this is io.gitlab.librewolf community. Haha. So, but that's how you install a Flatpak. You can always just search right on the FlatHub for whatever Flatpak you want and just grab the code here and put it in the terminal. So that actually is a decent shortcut. Some distros, you might actually just be able to click that button and go. I didn't actually test it on this one. And so that really is a good job there. But what they're doing by saying all this is they are beginning to depreciate the usage of snaps. And what they did in this particular one is the main Linux kernel, they have removed AppArmor. And so the AppArmor is what allows the full containerization of snap packages. Now, if you are still reliant on snaps, you want to keep it, you want to switch to the LTS kernel branch, because the AppArmor patches are still included in the LTS kernel branch, but sometime in the next year or so, they're going to drop the snap support in the basic system altogether. The Mesa has been upgraded from 24.23 to 20. Wait, hold on. Upgraded to 24.23, and the old one has a few new features. However, I think that this version of Mesa might actually be what's breaking my my graphics card on my main computer. I don't know. So I will leave that for the coders to figure out. But as far as other changes, just a couple basic software changes for the Budgie that we're looking at here. XReader is replaced with Events, XViewer is replaced by Eye of Gnome, and Grandpa is replaced File Roller. So just a few small changes of applications. As far as the software, we already talked quite a bit about the software, but just have having a look at the default packages here. I'll tell you a couple of them. The only two software packages I installed VLC thinking celluloid was broken, but VLC didn't work either, and that's what made us dig deeper into why video wasn't working on my computer. So I installed VLC and I installed Simple Screen Recorder. The defaults here, celluloid for video and Rhythmbox for audio on Solus. Budgie here, of course, those applications are slightly different depending on which one you get. So the GNOME, where was that at? There was actually a list of applications that they did. So up here, Budgie and GNOME has Rhythmbox. Budgie and GNOME has celluloid. XFCE has Parole for all. Plasma has ELSA for audio, and Hiruna for video. So you'll see a little bit difference in those. All right, let's go back to our pretty picture there and have a look at everything else. So this does have just a standard suite of basic applications. Everything there seems to work pretty well. So there's our Firefox, our Thunderbird. We have the Office suite, the whole LibreOffice. We have the CalcDraw, Impress Writer. No databases, but you can install that if you need it. Of course, Celluloid and Rhythmbox are the only ones installed by default. So it doesn't have a ton of extra stuff in it, which is kind of cool. Let me just show you real quick too that networking is working. I actually set up the networking in order to just test. I wanted to pull in some stuff. Actually, I think I might actually need to log in. Let's go ahead and do that. So this is my network attached storage based on my Raspberry Pi Media Center. So I did this so I could pull in some audio and some video resources just to double check why things weren't working right. So we have just a lot of different stuff over there. And there you have it. So I did add some, let me just check the audio real quick. So here is Just some John MacArthur stuff is what I added here just to test if the audio was working. Audio. There you go. And audio is working on the other computer. It's just video that seems to be crashing out. So let's go ahead and have a look at our video resources. So go ahead and load this up here. Here's a nice little sermon by John MacArthur, and you can see all the video resources are working fine. And so, of course, I'm using sermons here for this because in the past where we used to test the audio and the video resources on Linux distributions, I'll just use a quick, 3-second or less clip of a song, just see something's going. Kind of getting copyright strikes. So it's like, I'm done with that. MacArthur shouldn't come after me for playing a few seconds of talking about the Bible. So if that's not your thing, that's fine. I'm just doing that for copyright purposes. So there is that. And the last thing we wanted to have a brief look at, if you are unfamiliar with the Budgie desktop, we do have this menu bar over here called Raven. So you can see here we have our network manager. These are the various notifications. Here we have a calendar. We have our audio. Here's our devices where we can show what we have. We can do the built-in HDMI, or we can do the basic speakers, and then you can actually configure this menu with a few other items. Here we have Bluetooth. You can see that Bluetooth should be working fine. It does find my Bluetooth in this computer. That's the advantage of doing this on this laptop, is because this actually has Wi-Fi chips and Bluetooth, and I can test a bunch of other features in here. Now, there are the downsides of Solus. Budgie, I should say, when you install Budgie, is you do have two different settings panels. This is because Solus is based so much on GNOME, and so we have the basic GNOME Software Center, which gives us everything. You see we're connected to the FBI surveillance van there. Here's our Bluetooth. So all of this panel over here is from the GNOME settings. And this is, of course, where we can find information about the computer and whatever else. Now, there is a second settings panel, and this is called the Budgie Desktop Settings. So this one's called the Budgie Control Center. It's basically the GNOME Software Center. And then the Budgie Desktop Settings are actually what controls Budgie. Now, here is one of the first pieces of warning I'm going to give you if you're installing Budgie on a desktop that is not Solus. Some maintainers do not actually have default cursors in here, and if you click this button and they don't actually have other themes in here, it will automatically go over to the high contrast and you can't get off of it. So just a note to anybody that is packaging Budgie, make sure you have at least one other theme in here. So if people click the button, which will basically look blank, if you click this button, it automatically goes down to high contrast. There's not a way to turn it back. Okay, here we have High Color and Papyrus. Here we have Adwaita and Breeze. And then here we can choose where the notification positions are going to be at. We can do dark theme. We can do built-in, which enables, this will override some of the systems based on how our desktop is put together. And then we can do animations or not. Inside the desktop, we can, if I personally love desktop icons, if you don't, you can just turn them off. Very easy. You can show if something is actively mounted. So you can see that these volumes over here are all actively mounted. Of course, there's that one more, which is the encrypted drive here is not mounted because I've not loaded that guy up. We can add a shortcut to your home directory on your desktop or not. And then here's right now the default is single clicks. I don't like single clicks. I'll switch that over to double there. And then you can change your icon, and then we have virtual desktops. So how many virtual desktops do you have? Here's your basic fonts. No real changes there. The Raven menu. This is our menu over here. And so what you can do here, you can see we have calendar, sound input, and we have media controls. So if I go back and play a sermon, and let's go ahead and play that again. We should have over here media controls right here. So we can go ahead and we can go to the next track. We can stop it. We can stop Rhythm Box altogether. And so that's actually a neat feature that we have. Now, there are other widgets you can add. So there's media, sound. You can do a usage monitor. So if we add a usage monitor to it, now we'll actually see where is our RAM, where's our CPU, where's our swap. So we have that panel there as well. There might actually be more widgets we can get on there. I'm not sure. As far as the Raven position, we can do left, we can do right. Let's see what that one. I'm not sure what that one looks like. Set Raven where we'll open to where its parent panel has it. Okay, I guess you'd have to do there. Okay, we'll just leave that one there. And then the other thing we have is our windows. So you can adjust your various window elements. So you can enable focus when the mouse enters or leaves. So you can see how that changes there. And then we can do show all windows in the tab switcher. There's just a couple of options. Now, the other thing you have is panels. We have one panel in the bottom. We can actually create a new panel. So if you want a top panel, a side panel, you can create a new one. And then you can choose which items go where. So you can see that at the start of the menu, we have the menu and we have the icon list here. The end, we have a system tray, notifications, status indicator, Raven, clock, and the user indicator. So if we wanted to turn any of these off, we can go ahead and just find these. We can delete it. We can move these up or down. There are a bunch of other ones we can add to it. So that's what we have. Let me, actually, I want to test. I want to see if what the task list looks like. Let's go ahead and add that. And we'll put it, there's the center. We can move it up over here. So now this will give us our task list here. So that's actually one of the features that I kind of wanted to see in the past, and we didn't have it before. So that's sweet. I like it. And then let's see, there's no settings available. What I don't like is it's stacking like that, but okay, well, we can deal with that. Hey, we got it. That's all we asked for, right? And then you can see that there's other options we can put into the system here if you want. There's system tray, there's spacers, separators. So you can see there's a lot of different options that we can put on our panel as well. And then we can move them around. And then there's also different panel settings. So you can do the sizes up here. Here's the spacing here. And then we can automatically hide it. You can add some transparency to it. And then you can add some shadow or not and other things like that. So that is a basic rundown. Oh, and here's your auto start. Any apps you want to automatically start, you can add right here into your system. So that is a basic rundown of Budgie inside of the new version of Solus 4.6. So this is absolutely one of my favorite desktop environments. If Cinnamon or Plasma were not available, this would be my third favorite in the desktop environments. I just like the modern feel of it. It does, since it is so tightly integrated with your GNOME system, I believe it should have online accounts. Last I knew it did, but I didn't see any when I just searched for online accounts. Let's look back in our settings again real quick. This is where I sometimes get messed up here. There's a lot of things there. Let's see. Maybe this one does not have online accounts. I thought it did in the past. I know I've seen Budgies with it. Oh, well, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe it's not there. But it does a nice, clean, modern look to it that I do like. And so overall, this one is a good build. So with that, guys, if you are interested, have a look at this one. And if you are on the Solus team, you might look into that issue with the AMD Radeon graphics card not being able to play video. And if I can, I'll send some of that information over so we can look into it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.